Well, I feel like if I use the thumbnail I was going to use, it was really weird, so I apologise for that. But so I had this epiphany the other day because I was watching a video. Again, I'm sorry for this laptop sticking in, but I can't put it anywhere else where I can actually see it, so that's kind of where it needs to be at this point. So I had this epiphany the other day where I watched a video and a woman was talking about how she was saying how if you write down, if you feel like you have an issue, specifically for me it was, I think, just an issue, you can write down as a way of dealing with a situation what the issue is, what your core beliefs about it are, what a resolution can be to some of the true beliefs within that core system, and what are negative. So if you feel like you have an aspect of you that you are insecure about, or you feel that you get backlash from, or that you just maybe you reject in yourself, it's kind of part of shadow work, I suppose, in that way. I think mine was due to my bullying experience and figuring out that because I feel like I've had borderline traits through my life, I think I think the aspect of bullying, let's just quickly just say, bullying never acceptable, always about someone feeling inadequate themselves and trying to drag someone down to their level. That is what bullying is. We all have to function through life and be, able to stand up for ourselves, and that's probably what that person was doing. But I didn't need that bullshit. I wasn't doing anything to them. They were trying to look big in front of other people because of their narcissistic issue. So anyway, doesn't really bother me now. Obviously, these things make us who we are. Would have had some effect on me that was long lasting, but I think I'm a great person, so it's all good. For example, I feel like I had borderline traits even back then. So my core belief from that was, from the bullying, I think, was like, I'm ugly, for an example, and I've already considered that as a core belief being untrue, because I've even mentioned in another video, I don't think I'm ugly. I think that person was ugly, or some person that was involved was ugly, and projected that on me, or tried to evoke that in me because that was their insecurity trying to bring them down to their level because they thought I was an attractive person. Or whether they thought I was attractive or not, like, they were trying to bring me down anyway. Because often with narcissists and stuff, like, they do see light and good stuff in you, definitely, but it's often from a place of insecurity within them, so regardless of what. Anyway, so I think when I was writing all this stuff down, I was like, it's easy for people. I'll go into different ways that other people can do this as well, but if you are like me, so for me, it was kind of like, I was like, my core belief was like, people can manipulate me because they think I have a core sense of, because I have a rejection issue, or like people can manipulate me because I will sometimes have an, I don't know, like, I have empathic traits, so someone would have tried to abuse that trait in the past and use it to their advantage in whatever way. So knowing that, it can help you deal with that situation. So that can apply to anyone that has empathic traits, anyone that is insecure about something, or that can be taken advantage of, which a lot of traits can happen like that. If you're naive, or if you're, a bit Aspergic, or you don't understand the full picture of things very quickly, it takes you a while to fully understand the full picture. Don't come at me, anyone that's Aspergic or knows anything about Asperger's. I did a bit of research on it and I noticed that I had that trait where sometimes it's difficult to sometimes get the full picture with people that have those sort of traits. I've never been diagnosed. I'm not trying to be an autistic professional. So just disclaimer. But yeah, if any of those things, so you can then come up with a resolution. I feel like this is coming across a bit disorganised, but we'll try and organise it. You can come up with a resolution. I hope you're still following me. I think it's sometimes when I'm saying these things, I'm like, oh, it doesn't make sense, and when I watch it back, I'm like, that makes perfect sense. What the hell am I on about? I'm just gaslighting myself, but it's good to be organised. So, as I was saying, you can then come up with a resolution. For example, if you think you're going to be mistreated or taken advantage of in a situation, it's good to be aware of that, because some people, there are always going to be people, not you should be paranoid about it, but there are always going to be people that do try and take advantage of your good qualities or your vulnerabilities even, and that is something to be aware of, because the brain is very clever at sort of letting you know that stuff, even to an excessive extent. So it can be that you, like for example, from that experience, I think I, going forward when I moved schools, sort of was aware of those traits back then, because I sort of had this massive, like, even though there's, when you're things like bullied and stuff and there's different personalities disorders and people that are abusive involved, you have to prioritize yourself, and I think my parents are good at protecting my self-esteem, and I was good at, from an intrinsic level, at protecting my self-esteem, because I always knew there was something wrong with them from as a child. But it's a case of you kind of are aware of these things, but because they were inflicting the problem and I wasn't, I didn't really blame myself for my borderline traits at that point. Obviously I didn't know what it was, but I kind of just focused on the fact it was their issue, which it was, to be fair, and I wouldn't change it. So, but even so, it's good to recognise, putting aside, that you can have traits that can be manipulated. So being aware of that, it would just be able to allow you to protect yourself in that area, be that supply that people might try and evoke from you, be that empathy that people try and evoke from you. Obviously, being aware of other people's personality disorders is also something that is going to help you shield yourself from that sort of interaction, if you kind of know where it's coming from within them. That's also good to know. But one thing that I did notice, which has taken me ages to get to, is that everything sort of tends to work itself out in terms of traits. I'm going to probably keep this to a smaller portion of the video at the end, because I think this is kind of a bit whatever. But for example, and it's kind of personal to me, but I think you could probably do it yourself, and whether you're interested in doing that, I don't know. But for example, I noticed that I had medium narcissistic traits, because everyone has a level of narcissism. I have quite high psychopathic traits, and I have borderline traits, and I have empathic traits, and I have autistic traits. But I feel like they kind of work together for good, in terms of, if I didn't have psychopathic traits, I might not be as good at protecting my empathy as I am. Because they say that about people that are dark empaths, like me. They kind of have dark triad traits, aka narcissism, materialism, and sociopathy, as well as psychopathy, as well as a lot of empathy. But they're kind of able to work between the two. An example as well is that my autistic traits, even though I'm not diagnosed, but I have had mental health issues in the past, which I'm pretty sure there was parts of that which were involved. My autistic traits also align with my narcissistic traits, in terms of, for example, if I want to come across well in a group, I would then be social to try and protect my ego, which it's known that some people with certain types of autism can be withdrawn, or they can not be able to interact with other people very well, because of the level of connection that can be misinterpreted, and they just might not be very interested. Because I have a lot of my own hobbies, and I always have been. I'm introverted as a person, so having that level of medium narcissism would have allowed me to, intermingle with other people and feel okay about that. Just as my level of borderline personality disorder would then go along with empathy, which would allow me to have empathy for myself and think, it's okay, I don't need to get this person's validation, they're not rejecting me, I'm not, even if they are rejecting me, that's okay, I don't reject myself, God doesn't reject me, and that works together very well. Just as if I didn't have empathy, but I did have borderline traits, I would be in a very bad place. And if I didn't have empathy, if I had empathy, and do you know what I mean? It all just sort of works together. So I think it just sort of allows me to accept myself more. So maybe somehow accept other people more. I don't think it's important necessarily to accept every single person for what they are, because it's not really your place to do that. But I think the people you have in your life and that you even have to deal with it, you don't have to accept everyone, even the people that you have to deal with. It's actually very important, I feel like, to reject other people for certain things that they do, just for your own sense of peace. If anything else, not your place to accept everything they do and normalize it. It's not okay, a lot of stuff that people do. But the fact is, we're all human beings. But yeah, I've kind of rambled on this video. I'm going to just title it All Things Work Together for Good and hope that it comes out for the best. Obviously, watch it through first. Thanks for listening. Bye.